findings you have in chapter 4 for depending on your guidelines. So you are trying to interpret the findings, and you're interpreting this in the context of previous research. And in this point, you also bring in the implications of the findings. So in your discussion, we also be saying that you need to bring in the both sides of the results, the expected and unexpected results, so that when you reach to a conclusion, you are able to have looked at both phases of your findings. Let's start by having to look at sample discussion sections so that all of us are on the same page on how it looks like. So as I look for a PhD thesis, one of it from online libraries, master thesis, and an article. I will share right away. I'm showing you one here. This is for a PhD. This is a PhD thesis. So you can see here how it was formatted, maybe according to their guidelines. So chapter 5 is all about discussion, but maybe to show you, if I move again closer, chapter 6 for this person is now another chapter. It will be about conclusion and discussion. Okay, so as I discuss about chapter 5, I'll be referring to discussion, but other universities or guides give different guidance. Maybe you can see in this one, this is for masters. Chapter 5 is all about summary, conclusion, and recommendation. So I'm just showing you that when I'll be talking about discussion, I'm referring to chapter 5. So this will be as per the guideline that you have either in your institution or what I'll be showing you here. So for those who have published an article, maybe you know, of course, in that manuscript, there is always a discussion part. So I'm also showing you on your screen, there is a discussion aspect here. So the tips I'm going to discuss today, they all apply. So whether you are doing a PhD, whether you are doing a master's, whether you are writing a manuscript for publication, they will all apply in all that. Good. Point note. As we go through this discussion, I wish to emphasize that you need to follow your university guidelines, or maybe if you have some manuscript, you follow the guidelines of the journal or the advice of your supervisor. So this is just for learning purposes, just to improve on what you already know, and also you stick to your supervisor's guidelines. Let's see how a paragraph should be formatted in a discussion. So we expect in a discussion, we'll be having paragraphs. You can have 7 paragraphs, 10 paragraphs. The length differs, also dependent on your university prescriptions. So, but typically in a paragraph, what you need to have, the first sentence should be a topic sentence. And this topic sentence gives you a claim, or you are giving a claim that you'll be supporting in the subsequent sentences. Of course, that will be calling it the body. So you'll be giving us the support of the idea. At this time, you are using facts, and you need to support that with the citation, appropriate citation, also guided by the university, whether you're using Harvard or APA, whichever. We are going to see that in a sample and see how we can use it. Now, you have done your topic sentence. You have supported that argument. In concluding that paragraph, you give us now the implication of that results, your interpretation of that result in your concluding sentence. So don't leave it just open. It's good also to conclude that. We are going to see per paragraph. We also we discuss each objective that you had as its results. Which terms should you use, or which phrases can you use when you are writing your discussion chapter? There is a list of sentences or phrases that you can use when you're writing any section of your discussion. And this you shall obtain them from Academic Phrase Bank. This is a resource that is available online. You can just search from your browser, Academic Phrase Bank. So you'll find there are phrases you can use when you're writing results, when you're writing discussion, when you're writing methodology. There are phrases that are widely acceptable, and they help you express yourself in each of the section that you are writing. I'll take you through the phrases. I've extracted some, and I'll give just examples of the phrases. For example, here, when you want to express maybe the aim or the question of your research, you may wish to use either of these sentences. You cannot use all of them, but you may use one. Okay. For example, someone here, the first one here reads, as mentioned in the literature review, then you add your own words. So this is just to help you introduce, the concept or the sentence that you want to put in a given section in your discussion. And immediately this will be coming as at the initial page. I'm going to show you in a sample that usually you start with an introduction. You want the reader to see what you have been looking for. So you'll be telling them these were the objectives, and now in the next section, maybe 5.1, you'll be discussing the objectives and so on. So you'll be introducing by using such terms. Okay? So this is subject to you to look at which phrase do you feel it matches your work, or you feel it expresses well the writings you are making. Let's assume now you want to discuss your chapter. Yes, one of the objectives that has the results. You want to discuss those results. You can use terms such as, in this study, X was found to cause, I'm using sentence or phrase number 3 there. In this study, X was found to cause, or number 4, you can see that it reads, the result of this study show or indicate that. So those are phrases you should use when you are writing your discussion. Let's see then. I already said at the beginning, you need to show us the expected and unexpected when you are writing your discussion. So don't give us only the expected findings. You also give us the unexpected that you came across. For example, here you can say, maybe if you want to introduce that, you can use, for example, phrase number 1 there, surprisingly, X was found to, or maybe look at the last phrase there, delete. However, ANOVA showed that these results were not statistically significant. Then you continue with your explanations there. So these phrases, they can help you introduce in case you have any unexpected outcome. In a paragraph, I said you need to have a topic sentence followed by the body where you shall be supporting that topic sentence or the claim that you express in the first line, in the first sentence there. So how do you support this? You need to now to have a phrase that brings in what other literatures were arguing about. Okay. For example, here you can use phrase 1. You can say, these findings further support the idea of, another one, maybe the second one there, you can say, these findings confirms the association between X and Y. Okay, look at the last phrase there. Maybe I can read for you. This finding is in agreement with Smith's 1999, which showed, okay, so you can choose one that fits what you are expressing in your paragraphs or in your discussion section. You can also introduce a section, or in your paragraph, you have findings that are not contradicting. For example, maybe you are saying that, or your findings were showing that this gender is the one that is prone to a specific disease. But now your findings are shown something contrary, or the literature gives something contrary to your findings. So there are words that you should use or phrases you should use to introduce that kind of phrase or statement. For example, you can say in phrase number 1 there, however, the findings of the current study do not support the previous research. Then you continue giving us which research did you refer to. Or number 2, you can say this study has been, or this study has been unable to demonstrate that. Okay, of course, there are several areas that you'll also be quoting. I've already shown you samples. Okay, moving on. Depending on the kind of study you are doing, whether it was qualitative or quantitative, or it was even a mixed study, you may wish maybe to guide the reader on how to infer or to use or to make a conclusion about these findings that you are providing. To give caution, you can use a word such as, these findings cannot be extrapolated to all patients, maybe because of a reason. You need to give us a reason. This data must be interpreted with caution because, okay, so this also forms part of your limitation in your discussion as you express it. I repeat, I said that in a paragraph, you'll be having your topic sentence, you'll be having the body, and also now the concluding sentence. The concluding, we want to see the implication of these findings. You can introduce that sentence by using phrases such as, this finding has important implications for developing, or an implication of this is a possibility that, that's just an example. Or you can look at the last phrase there. These results provide further support for the hypothesis that, okay, and of course this time when you're using hypothesis in your chapter 2 or chapter 1, sorry, you need to have already provided those hypotheses so that you're able to make a link with whatever you are showing the reader. Good. Those are some of the phrases that you can use when you are writing your paragraph in a discussion section. But some mistakes do happen when you are writing your discussion. Let's see some of the mistakes that you can make. It happens that you now bring in the results that were maybe in chapter 4 into chapter 5. That should not happen. That's a mistake, and you should try to avoid. Or, yes, in your paragraph, you are making an argument, but you are not supporting it. You can also be noted that you have brought in a new concept or a new finding that is not part of your objective. Remember, your objectives was giving you like a scope on areas to cover. When you bring in new information, you have gone beyond the scope. That's a mistake in your chapter 4. Chapter 4, you're only discussing, chapter 5, so you're only discussing what the objectives were aiming to achieve. Now you go to the findings, now you want to interpret them. Another mistake you may make is when now you just pick the results that you feel are suitable for you, or you feel they are easier to interpret according to you. In a illustration, you should interpret all the findings you have and make a conclusion and implication to add all of them. Don't cherry pick. Those are the common mistakes that can occur when you are writing your discussion. How then do I write a better discussion? We shall look at each of these tactics. a guide I prefer and usually advise also my students. You may have maybe a scanned guide from your supervisor.
Can somebody mute? There's a lot of noise.
Sorry? They come back.
Can the host mute that person who is making a lot of noise?
The remote you can assist to mute.
Let me do that.
So I'm referring to tactics to bring a better discussion.
Judy, kindly mute. Judy, kindly mute.
Okay. Mr.
I think I have muted her. We can proceed.
Okay, thank you. So we are looking at tactics or tips to writing a better discussion chapter. Number one of the key advice here is go and look for previously completed thesis, or if it's a manuscript, look for a published article, maybe in a specific journal. Look at how they format and how they're structured.
Kindly participants, please, let's give time to the host. Jose?
You can mute them. There are two, yeah.
We are good now.
Yes.
Josephat, we can proceed.
Okay. So I repeat again, maybe I was muted. I repeat on tactic number one. We start with checking previous papers that have been published, or thesis, or any dissertation. Look for the structure and the format. They will help you or give you a guide on how to approach your work. Number two, follow the guidance by your institution. There are the institutions that have a postgraduate handbook that is detailed, maybe chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, even 4 and 5. You can check, but most of the institutions, they have a 1, 2, 3 at the proposal stage, very dated, but 4 and 5, they are scanned. So you may also compare with other institutions on what they want you to put on that part. Another part is you ensuring there is an alignment in your work. In your proposal, you had already the objectives. You then went ahead to collect the data. You now have the results. So you combine the results and objectives now to write your discussion. I remember here, we shall be discussing every objective. We shall be discussing every objective. And this objective has the findings. Of course, when you are writing the results, you are writing them as per the objective. So say objective 1, these are the results. The same case in a discussion. You say objective 1, maybe you write the objective, then you give us your discussion. Now, when you are discussing, we've already mentioned, you need to give us the expected and unexpected. Don't cherry pick on what to present. You have to present all that was expected and expected. Don't fear. What you need now put is, in case there were any limitations, you now, in your limitation, you can express yourself and say, this study, yes, was done on only one hospital. That's why we cannot make a general conclusion or about these findings that I'm sharing. In case you have 4 objectives, we expect you are going to have at least 4 major findings and their discussions, because most of the comments by your supervisor to be that your discussion was not made in relation to the objectives, or your discussion has only discussed 2 objectives and left the others. That should not happen. So in this discussion chapter, it is you who will tell the readers what you really found. And maybe a point to note is, even in a manuscript, after you have read the abstract of that maybe published article, the next section most of the readers go to read is the discussion, because it's a discussion where you express yourself. We get to hear the voice, because you're the one who did the study. Are you able to express yourself well there, or the implications of those findings? Moving on. I've already said number 7, where you have to present the findings in the order of your objectives. And also number 8 is where you I don't know. Remote confirm. Am I now audible? I don't know. I'm still getting some pop-up.
You're
Yes.
audible. You're audible.
Okay. You are saying number 8, you have to fit the findings in the context of previous studies or the literature. You need to have read your work.
Oh, there's an issue. I'm trying to mute these other people. Then it mutes you. Kindly, James, when I mute them, it's muting you as well. I think it's okay now.
Okay. Let's proceed. So I was saying, maybe when you are doing literature review, you had prepared a literature map where you have all the literatures you have explored, their findings, all that is summarized. So when you'll be writing your discussion, it will be easier to go back to the literature map to counter check whether they are in line with your findings. That is, are they similar or they are different? So in case of any difference, we are also going to see that in a discussion matrix, how you can bring in that concept. Don't forget to show us the implication of the findings in your discussion, and that will happen in every paragraph that you are presenting a finding. Let's look at how can you approach that. You have to have a table like this. You can have column 1, you are writing the objectives and the findings. Objective and the finding. Objective 2 and its finding. Objective 3 and its finding. Or in case objective 1 has several findings, you just put them down on that column. Then you go back to your literature map. You look for those studies that have findings similar to yours. Then you'll be writing those others there, so that it will be easier for you to say that these findings were similar to, these findings concur to, like that. You'll be able to easily refer. The third column is where you have findings that are contradicting or conflicting. So maybe you found females are more prone to XX, but the literature says males were prone to that kind of maybe a disease and so on. Then you just also put the other there. And then in the last column, it is your thoughts. And this is what I said is your implication. And this is happening after every paragraph where you are presenting your findings. So you say, yes, these findings were similar to this, but in the last paragraph you say, express your thoughts. How do we interpret? You express the why in this case. You express the why in this case. I'll be showing you what makes a weak and a strong discussion. And this is how we are going to distinguish that is by the last column where we are expressing the implication of the findings. I want now to go back now to the sample thesis I showed you earlier. Maybe we shall read 2 or 3 paragraphs in each, then we conclude on that. I want to go to our specific objectives. For example, this one, I'm showing you an objective. Yeah, this author was looking for risk factors to geoelements, malaria parasite, and co-infection. So I'll read up to where you have WHO, maybe so that you can get the concept. So risk factors for meningitis in this study were unemployment, not wearing protective shoes, while working on the farm, staying in semi-permanent house, soil eating, use of untreated well water. So the author here is trying to make an argument or a claim, but what does she continue to, or he continue to say is these findings agree with. Okay, so there was a study by WHO which revealed that germinals affect poorest and most deprived communities. Okay, so he also continues to identify other findings that are agreeing with the results. He also continues to agree to provide other results or findings that are related to that. I want to show you another one and see whether a similar trend happens. For this one, this here was on social demographic characteristics of students. I'll just highlight what I want us to look at. Okay, so I've just highlighted there. It says, or she says here, the findings were similar to the findings of who reported that. Okay, the continuation. Okay. Similarly, there's another one here. Similarly, study by this reported that. Okay. Maybe I look for one that is contradicting. Okay. Let me show you this one I had seen. Okay, most of these results here were in line. Okay, but in case you find any that is contradicting, you just introduce the way we have just agreed from using similar or using terms such as however, this studies contradicts or does not go in line with what you have found in your work. Okay, so with that, what I'm just demonstrating is that with good phrases and good discussion matrix, you're able to introduce your work well. You're able to introduce your work well to the leader or even to the supervisor, and they're able to see that you're able to have, you had put some thoughts to your work, that you're able now to link or to interpret your findings in relation to the literature that you had conducted earlier at the proposal stage. Final tip or bonus to our discussion today, you can try to create what we call a mind map. I don't know whether it is too small, but allow me to just express for you. I can expand. So on the lights, you ensure that you have correct results. Because yes, you can make a good discussion, but the results are wrong. Of course, you are bringing some confusion. So you need to have already validated that the results you're having or the findings you're having are correct. So when in statistics, you were done well, and of course, here maybe you have consulted an expert in statistics who is able to show or tell you that what you have is correct. The objectives, of course, this may have been approved at the proposal stage, and you had a thorough literature review that you educated that in a literature map. Now, when you come to your discussion, you just be now interpreting your findings. You have your findings per objective. You now tell us what is similar and what is different in findings. And this is comparing in comparison with the literature. And thereafter, you in your conclusion in that paragraph, you give us the implication. And the implication here is your thoughts. What do you think explains the findings? And this is now where you make a distinction. Now, your discussion will be weak if you are just telling us this study is similar to, this study differs with. What you are just telling us is what. You are answering the question of what. But a good discussion or a strong discussion will tell us the why and how. Yes, you say the findings agree with so and so. Then you also tell us why you think these findings were different. And of course, here you need to have explored literature that tries to explain that kind of phenomena that you are experiencing in your study. So you bring in your thoughts. Your thoughts has to be shown in your discussion. So with that, I'll stop there. And maybe, Raymond, you can help check whether there are any questions or any concern from the participants. Then you can look them through. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephat. So, participants, you are free to post any question you may have on the chat. Then I can read it, and Josephat will take it up. Pamela, please ask your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Josephat. This is a great work. I just have a question concerning the review. Is there a difference between book chapter review and the discussion that you have already taken us through? And again, are you going to share with us the slides?
Okay, thank you, Pamela. You are asking whether there's a difference between a book review and the discussion chapter or literature review, sorry. So in a book review, remember there are several, even you can do a product review. So in a book review, maybe you'll be giving an observation, your opinions about a given area. Of course, you have done literature. You have done literature and you find you need to quote several sources of information to show that whether you support a certain argument or you oppose a certain argument. My presentation here was mainly on academic part, where you are focusing maybe on a given study that you are looking at. So the literature that you'll be doing this time will also be focused on your research topic or study area. Then this is where now you try to bring the comparison, the literature, the findings, and the results you have, plus the objectives you try to bring in. So in terms of the slides, I think also the recording will also be shared through Raymond. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Twina Matsiko also has a question.
Okay, thank you, and I'm grateful for this great presentation. Would you please shed some more light on the element of application and implication of the research findings? Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to give I will take you back to the discussion matrix here. So for example, you may find you have a finding saying that females are or they have poor drug adherence, maybe to antihypertensive drugs. But the literature says, maybe it becomes discordant here. We are saying the literature says it is male, the gender that has a poor okay, let me repeat again. Your findings shows females have poor adherence to antihypertensive medication, but the literature says the opposite. Males are the one who have poor adherence. Now, in your thoughts here, you try to look for more literature that supports your finding, or you give your thoughts and say, I agree that, or maybe in your thoughts, maybe I'll give an example. Females may have poor adherence to this, maybe because of, maybe look at the age, or maybe you can associate, because maybe from your interaction with the participants, maybe you can associate maybe to the daily activities they are involved in, maybe hormonal issues. You try to bring your own conclusion or your thoughts that may support your finding. So you don't leave it alone. You don't leave it saying that this studies does not go in line with this. You try now to think around what may have contributed to this kind of finding. And where you are not able maybe to come up with that kind of a thought, you can read further. You can look for more literatures that their literature, of course, they may have an explanation to that kind of phenomena that may be unexpected in your finding. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so there's another question from Eric Miner. So he's saying, thanks you for the great presentation, and he's seeking for the difference between conceptual framework versus theoretical framework and the application thereof.
So thank you for the question. Unfortunately, our discussion here was mainly on this discussion. We limited ourselves to the discussion part. So theoretical framework, conceptual framework, I'll just highlight, but what this time, the bits that you can bring in to your discussion is, because we are talking of, I think I mentioned about alignment. From your objectives, they align with your conceptual framework or the theoretical framework that you are using. And of course, this will guide even in your results and also in your discussion. But the main difference is usually comes in areas where maybe the studies have not been done, or they are not, the literature is not as much. Okay, so you may be guided to use a conceptual framework. In other areas, you may be guided to use a theoretical framework. Okay, so the others, depending on your supervisor, you may be guided to use both. But conceptual frameworks mainly shows their variables and how they relate, how they are relating. But in a theoretical framework, you look for a theory that will guide your research, So whether you're doing qualitative or quantitative, depending on your supervisor, they may ask you to provide any of those. But of course, especially most of the PhD I've seen, they will ask you, what is the theoretical underpinning of your work? You need to have looked or checked a theory that will guide your, and from there is where you're able to get the variables that you can put in your framework. So I don't want to go back to or into detail into that section, but maybe that's another area that maybe you can focus on next time, maybe as another presentation. Back to you, Raymond.
Thank you, Josephat. Maybe if I can ask anyone with another question. I can't see any. Or anyone would like to raise their hand? As I give a minute for that, I can read feedback. A great presentation. I feel quite enlightened. That's from James Opoka. Then Tunamatsiko ask a question. I say thank you. Yeah, Dorothy says, wow, thank you so much. This is a very enlightening presentation. Yes, so I think from a questions perspective, that's all I can see. Anyone would like to raise a hand and ask a question? I've also shared the feedback form, the ADA feedback form, just in case you'd like to give feedback on this training, and also can give your details on that feedback form so that you may get these materials.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Oh,
It's
Dorothy.
Dorothy. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Josephat, for this presentation. I wish I knew this when I was doing masters, although it's been quite a while back. But I'm really grateful. I haven't attended these presentations for quite a while now, but I'm thinking I better begin preparing myself for studies again. So I'm just really grateful for the way you've taught us very well. And I was just asking whether I can have your email, so I know I can always reach out to you the way I usually just look for Valeria. If you don't mind, I would like your email.
No problem. I can share on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. Another comment from Dr. Charles Kalinzi. Good presentation, especially to our young researchers. Pamela, you'll get the contacts. Josephat will share them on the chat. Anyone else, please? Frederick says, thank you for this presentation.
Hello.
Hello, who?
Hello.
Oh, Pamela. Oh, who is it?
No,
This
that
is
is
Joy.
not me.
This is Joy. Can you hear me?
Joy. Yes, Joy Motegi. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we are grateful to the presenter. It was a wonderful presentation. I've listened through. It was very nice. Especially for the social scientists. Myself, I'm in mathematics, and I know in maths we do it slightly differently, especially when it comes to the methodology section. So probably the organizers, next time you can also consider those who are in maths and sciences, so that you can have a presenter who can be able to guide the ones in maths and science, because I know it's slightly different from the methodology section. Otherwise, all the other sections we normally agree, but our methodologies slightly differ. So I just wanted to make a request. When you are done with this, maybe you can also think about something for the scientists. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. That's a very good, that's very good feedback. Definitely, I'll share with Aurelia, and that is something we can plan. Yes, thank you. That's a really good request.
Yeah, I will also have a request. Can we get again someone who can take us through book chapter review? Because it is also very important for the researchers like me.
That is well noted. I hope you share that feedback, both Pamela and Joy. I hope you share that feedback in the feedback form too, Though I've
Okay,
noted it.
I'm filling it now.
Okay.
I'm going to share it.
Okay. Anyone else? So I'm guessing, anyone else? I will not want to close without making sure everyone is content. We'll just give it, it's 9:56, we'll just give it 1 minute in case there is no other question. Then can close. So I would like to say thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for your very good questions. And thank you very much, Josephat, for the presentation. You've really articulated it very well. And yes, always a pleasure having you aboard here at AIDA Africa. Apologies from Aurelia. She couldn't be with us today. She's in an area with very poor network. That's why I had to step in. I hope I have not failed her. So thank you all for your participation. Any final comments, Josephat?
No, I wish just to appreciate everyone who have joined the call today, just to enhance ourselves, or what we call self-enhancement. Now is to go back and put it into practice. When next there is another presentation, always feel welcome to listen in. Thank you, Raymond, for hosting us. Thank you.
Most welcome, everyone. Thank you, and see you on the next session. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Ray. I like the way you've kept time. That's so nice. You just know it's just 1 hour, an hour. Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Thank you too.
Good day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.